All right, guys, so welcome to week one, lesson one. Let's go ahead and get started. So getting to know us, my name is Robert Ponce, originally from New Mexico. Went to NMI, the New Mexico Military Institute. I have a bachelor's in molecular biology, microbiology, and biotechnology. I have 5 years of teaching experience. I love technology and its use in teaching led me deeper into coding. I completed coding boot camp, right, with Coding Dojo, just like you guys. And I'm using the love of teaching and coding to help us. Our TA for today is going to be Justina. Justina, would you like to go over some of your get to know me?
Hey everyone, my name is Justina. I go by literally either one. Whichever name you like the most, you can pick, whether it's Justina or Gray. People like the one syllable, so do I. But it's like Justina's a great old name. I'm like, let's use it. So that is me. I'm originally from New York. I am East Coast all the way. I currently reside in South Kakalaka, South Carolina. So getting a little country. I've been at Coding Dojo almost a year. I think I'll hit a year like next month. But I've been with Dojo. I started as a student in December 2020. And I worked as a React developer earlier this year for a few months for a private consulting firm out here. But loved my Coding Dojo and came back. Well, actually never left, technically speaking. I never left. But that's what I have been doing and have been working a lot with the dojo on how to make it better. And I did not come from coding, no coding background, and came in here, humbled myself, and learned how to program. So I am proficient in Python, Flask, Python Django, and Mern-Pt-Sep. I know some Java. I'm not proficient in it, but I know some things. And or anything like that about my experience, about work, stuff like that. Mern is my absolute favorite. Jobs get my hands down. So definitely an enthusiasm there. And I don't know what else to say or share, but if you guys have questions, let me know. That's basically it.
Thank you, Justina. She's doing awesome stuff, guys. So please reach out to her. She's awesome. That being said, guys, let's go ahead and continue to move forward. So now that you've gotten to know us, guys, let's go ahead and go over some information for you guys, which is going to start with our schedule right here. Okay, this is a schedule for you guys. This is going to be extremely beneficial. We covered it a little bit in office hours, just kind of the format that we have. You can click on this link and it'll send you to the schedule. Here's the schedule right here. And this is the wrong place, sorry. All right, so this is our schedule, guys. Pretty kind of easy to read. We have what we need to, our reading, right? What we need to read at the end of the day, what we need to complete end of day. Now, a good question that gets brought up all the time is, hey, I didn't finish my, let's say, predictive structuring, and it's Sunday. Can I turn it in? Yes, you can. So this was built to kind of help you guys because you guys are part-time accelerated. This means that we know that you guys have other jobs, you guys have other responsibilities. So sometimes we don't get to finish it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, right? Friday, right? We need to take a break from our work on Friday, and so we might go out, right? So we need to finish it maybe Saturday or Sunday. That's why we allow this, right? So if Saturday or Sunday you turn it in, that's fine. In fact, if you take a week, that's fine, but I wouldn't do that because then what ends up happening if you take a week to turn it in, let's say the next week, you fall behind. And what is this going to cause? When we get to the exam, you need to have 90% of these core assignments complete up to that time, right? Which is 11. And so the thing is, you fall behind, you might not get the code on time. It'll lead you to take less attempts at the exam, which is not what we want. We want to try to stay on pace with this schedule, and that's what this was built for. It's here for you. Okay. This schedule is going to have other really cool links here for you, whether it's our GitHub repo when we start adding some things to it, our Zoom link for the class, one-on-one with me, this one right here, TA schedule and Dojo Hall. So essentially, we have this location for you guys to collaborate, have discussions with each other, help each other out, collaborate, and get help on what you're coding, right? That's Dojo Hall. Yeah. And then we'll have the YouTube playlist here. It'll be linked right up here. It says to be added, of course, and it'll be added after we have a few videos or after today's video, honestly. That being said, this is our schedule. Feel free to click around, take a look at the different things. This can also be found on Discord, and so that'll be here. If you don't have access to Discord, please make sure to let us know so that we can make sure to give you access. You go ahead and open this up. You'll notice that there is React is so hot right now. Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for sharing that. This right here is going to be our Discord channel. Up here, pinned is going to be our Google Slides, our schedule, a bunch of great information. And then please collaborate with each other, right? Help each other out. Send all these hilarious GIFs and memes, right? Keep collaborating here, talk to each other. This is what we need. This is what this is for, is to collaborate and help each other and feel comfortable asking these questions, right? So please, okay. You're also going to notice that I sent out a Pear Deck. We're going to be using Pear Deck. Click on that link, and what you're going to get is essentially this right here. And you'll get to click through it. But when you get to the questions, which will be today, which is where right here, after a few, you'll get our warm-up question after we talk about a few things. You'll actually be able to answer it through here, okay? So that's what this is for. This is essentially allows me to be able to engage with you so that you can go ahead and engage with the material and answer those questions, okay? All right, moving to the next slide. Is this class is here for you, right? I want you guys to really understand this, is that it's here for you, right? So what does this mean? It means do not be afraid to ask questions. I want you guys to feel very comfortable asking questions. If you don't understand a piece of code, come into office hours, walk through it with us, ask those questions. I hate when people feel like they can't answer a question or they can't ask a question because they're going to be made fun of. This is not the place, okay? That's not what this is for, okay? In fact, if somebody's ever done that, I don't think they would be a good teacher, right? So you have to understand is that we're here to help you, right? If you have that question, I guarantee you 5, 10, 14 other people in the class have that same question, but they might be too afraid to ask. Okay, so please ask those questions, okay? There's a lot of great questions that come in, and it helps a lot of people, okay? I want this to be an environment you feel comfortable to ask questions. Save your questions for after the lesson. So sometimes I will be going through the lesson and it's very difficult to pause, like if I'm completing a diagram or explaining something. So after that little explanation, then go ahead and answer those questions. Now, if it's something that's like, I need to get this answered right now, right? I cannot stop, right? The world's gonna end if I don't answer it. Get an answer right now, then please, yeah, stop me and be like, hey, Robert, let me ask you this question, and go ahead and ask that question, right? Also ask some questions in the chat, right? Just seeing as they're answering them. Ask those questions in the chat. If we don't answer them, please let me know. You can raise your hand as well. There's a little emoji hand, and if you play with it, you'll actually get bumped up here to the top, and I'll be able to see you, and that way I know who's asking the question. Okay. Yeah. Moving on to the next slide. Good to know. So we're going to try to get those accountability partners as soon as possible, right? So you guys got to meet each other here in office hours. And essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to find people that are close to us, that are maybe in a state away from us, probably in the same time zone, because sometimes you'll meet individuals that are in a completely different area. And so it causes some clashes between the times. Now, if they are up at that time, then that's fine. You guys can work together. I'm not going to stop you and be like, you cannot work with this person. But what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to make it a little bit easier for you guys. Okay. So make sure to reach out to some peeps, get those accountability partners, because essentially what we need is a support system to say, hey guys, did you finish those discussion questions? Message each other on Discord. Hey, have you guys completed it? If not, what's the reasoning? Maybe you didn't understand something. What's the case, right? And so essentially, as soon as we can get those accountability partners, in fact, you can jump into Discord right now and ask, hey, who wants to be my accountability partner? You guys can make groups. You guys can make a channel where you guys meet. Completely up to you guys how you want you do it. Okay. But one thing I do want to mention that you guys need to understand when we make those accountability partners. This does not mean we all have the same code. We will never have the same code. It might be similar, but maybe our classes are going to be different. Our structure is going to be different. But make sure it's not the same exact code coming in. Okay. Because then, of course, that would be infringement and all these other things, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so just make sure we're there to help each other out, right? That's essentially what we're there for. Okay. Let's see, what's the next one? Make study groups. We talked about that. Reach out via Discord. We talked about that. Please meet in Dojo Hall. Why is this important? Because if you meet outside of Dojo Hall and you have a question, there's not really anybody that can answer that, right? And so when you're in Dojo Hall, you have somebody there that understands the material. right? So jump into Dojo Hall and ask for help. And then, of course, most important of all, push each other to succeed. We're pushing each of ourselves to succeed. We're not going to be like, hey, you're not going to make it, get away from me, right? We have to make sure we're helping each other out. We're like, hey, we're here to push each other to succeed. We're all here for the same reason, to succeed, to get past this, right? And to succeed at this stack and move to the next stack and succeed at that and move on to the next, right? So please make sure we're helping each other out. Okay. Awesome. All right, moving forward, good to know. Breakout rooms will be held after class. So I do have some activities after class. These activities will help you level up, right? And they're built to help strengthen your understanding of the fundamentals used in core and practice assignments, okay? If you can complete the after class projects and understand the concepts, you will have a much easier time completing the belt exam. Think of the activities as ninja training. Essentially, these were built to help you pass the exam. These were built to make sure that we are chunking the information in a way that you're able to understand it and put it together so that when you get to the exam, you've already had some time to code through this, to run into errors, be able to collaborate with others so that you understand how this code works, okay? These activities will be held after class. If you're not able to make them, the activities are written on the slides, so you'd be able to complete them. But I would really highly suggest that you please put the time aside to collaborate with others and to work together with others on this activity after class. And I'm telling you this because I promise you, if you put in 110%, you will do really well, right? That 110% or that 105%, right? Honestly, is just staying after class for a few minutes and completing this with some of your fellow classmates. Being able to have a sense of camaraderie as we help each other out. Being able to further understand our understanding of the code because we were able to teach somebody, right? So I really, really, really 100% agree. As well as the data shows, you come to these activities, or at least complete them on your time, you're going to do a whole lot better on the exam. Okay. Moving forward to our good to know. The next one, right? Discussions are due Wednesday. Turn them in. I highly suggest you start Monday and just turn them in Monday. Just the minute they open, just answer them as quickly as possible. The reason I'm saying this is because the minute you miss these discussion questions, they can dismiss you from the program. This is something set with whatever the state mandates, and this is one of those things. So please make sure you answer these discussion questions. They're so easy to answer, right? A little bit of time, right? So please make sure you do that. Yeah, put in the 105%. I like to say 105% just because it just takes a little bit more to be able to do that much better. Okay. And be your own hero, right? You could be your own enemy, honestly. And that's what sometimes I see is, you know what, I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to watch TV. I'm tired. I had a hard day. Trust me, I get this. When I did this program a while back, one of the stacks that I was taking, I went on a trip. I was on a trip to, it was somewhere in Cancun, somewhere near Cancun. I love traveling. Everybody went out to have a good time, right? And I stayed inside because I knew I needed to finish some stuff, and I finished it. Everybody else was having fun, right? But the thing is I was successful because I put those I guess you could say monsters, right? Those monsters that tell you, hey, don't finish this right now. Go do something else, right? Hey, you're tired, or you had a tough day, right? Or something. And sometimes we do. Mental health is important, but at the same time, make sure you're not throwing in all these exceptions so that you don't complete your work. Take a break, of course. If you're going to be coding at times, that you're going to get to a time where your head hurts, you're tired, you can't figure it out. Take a break. Get up, go get some coffee, watch a show, come back. Okay, but just don't let those monsters of procrastination get to you. Okay. Don't cheat yourself, right? If assignments are found to be a copy of a solutions, you will be placed on academic probation or worse. It just doesn't make sense to cheat yourself, right? Learn the code so that when you type it, it's your code, not somebody else's. Next is going to be Zoom tutorial. I think we all kind of understand Zoom, but if we do not, because that's an assumption I'm making right now, if we do not understand Zoom, you can watch the Zoom tutorial, help you guys out, okay? Some good things. I like to start my day here when we're in class with our good things. The reason I do this, guys, is some of us, have gone through a few stacks. Some of us, we just got out of web fundamentals and we're jumping into the stack. It's going to get difficult It's going to get hard. And I want you guys to remember you have a big why. What is your big why for completing this stack, right? Whether it's going to be for you, it's going to be for your family, it's going to be for growth, whatever the case may be, I want you to think of that big why. And that was one of our questions, right? Why is it that I'm doing this, right? Whatever that reason is, hopefully it's big enough to be able to reflect on that and say, hey, you know, I know I'm tired. I know I just coded this whole thing, but this is why I'm doing it. There's a greater purpose, okay? And remember that greater purpose. I have a great quote here, right, from Henry Ford. He says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right, right? So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So it's a big mental thing, right? If you think you can do it, chances are you're going to do it. If you think you know what, I just can't do this, chances are you're not going to do it, okay? So your mental state is a big thing, okay? So just remember that, guys. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and move forward to today and actually get started with today. So these questions can be answered on Pear Deck. The link has been sent out to you guys. You can click through the slides. This is going to be slide number 18. Okay, so once you answer here, we'll be able to see the responses. So go ahead and if you haven't already, the link is on Discord. I've sent that out, right? It's right here. You can click on it. It'll take you here, right? And you'll be able to answer those questions. I'm going to be using this every single day so that we can answer these questions and actually engage with the material, right? I'm all about engagement, guys, so please do me a huge favor. You know, engage, answer these questions, throw thumbs up when we need to, send out those responses so I can see how everybody's feeling, okay? All right, sending this out to everybody. Here's the link. And let's go ahead and answer those questions. Usually I put some lo-fi, but I don't think I have any lo-fi queued up.
Hey Robert, for the answer here text box that shows up on the right of it, do we answer both questions in that one, or do we put one answer and then the second one will show up?
Great, so great question. There's one box, and after you put your answer in there, you don't even have to press enter. It'll automatically save the response, and I'll be able to see the response. So essentially what you're doing here is you're trying to tell me, okay, is there going to be an output for this piece of code on the left-hand side, right? Or is there going to be an output for this one on the right-hand side, right? What is there going to be an output, or is there going to be an error? And if there's going to be an output, what's the output? Does that make sense, or was that confusing? If it was confusing, let me know, guys. All right. Put some lo-fi on for a little bit. For those of you guys asking in the chat, I think if I had a superpower, Wolverine does sound pretty cool, but I think I would rather be Superman. I think I'd be able to fly. I'll take that. Yeah, I'd have to say Superman. Batman's cool, but Superman, yeah. He'd probably beat me up every single time with a little bit of kryptonite, but I'd take it. Gotta admit, Batman's pretty cool. All right, guys. As much as I'd love to continue playing this lo-fi, I'm gonna pause it right there so we can get started with today, okay? All right, so we have two different pieces of code here. right? And so today's conversation, we're going to talk a little bit about destructuring. That's what we're going to start with. It can be a very complex topic in the beginning because we see it and we're like, this is super weird. And that's okay. What I want you guys to know, this is one of the errors that we might run into at first, okay? So let's take a look at some of the responses. Once you type, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to see what you guys type. So this is to show you guys what you type. So congrats guys on answering for your first answer for this stack. Great job, a lot of good answers. Okay. Left returns an object, right returns an error because make is the name of an attribute. Okay, cool. All right, so a lot of really good answers. So let's talk about this. Sorry. We are destructuring here, okay? We're destructuring essentially, but I want you guys to notice a very little difference here. I want you to notice that this one has curly braces and this one has brackets, okay? Are we destructuring an array or are we destructuring an object? That is my question to you guys. Someone in the chat, is this an object or is this an array? Okay, see object. Very good. So we're destructuring an object. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Object. Everybody else? Anybody think array? Anybody? No? Okay, cool. All right, so we have no array. That's perfect. We are destructuring an object. Because we're destructuring an object, we're going to have to put what? The brackets or the curly braces? You tell me. What are we thinking? All right, curly boys. I like that. Yeah, we got to put some curly boys, right? Curly, little curlies. Nice. Absolutely correct. Yeah, so we have to put the curlies. So what the one on the left-hand side, right? It's going to give you Bob, but the one on the right-hand side just not going to work, right? So this right here is how we're going to start off. This is our warm-up. This is what we're going to do every single day that we meet. We're going to have a warm-up question. We're going to try our hand at it, and then we're going to, essentially jump into the lesson. Right. So that being said, let's go ahead and move forward. So a lot of great answers. That was correct if you put Bob for the left one and for the right one in error, right? Because this is not an object. Okay. All right. So getting started with our get to know for today. So a lot of great answers. Thank you guys for sending it in. Hopefully you guys now see how we're able to just kind of take a look at the answers here. And this will be helpful because later we'll get to some really complex things that sometimes we won't have the answer, right? Like this one, right? I'm unsure. Right, this is perfect, right? Notice I'm not telling it to bring up your name or anything. I just want you. I want to see the answers, right? And so from here you can say, oh look, right? Okay. You can see the other answers. We can stop and we can take a look. Right? It'll help you guys out. All right, perfect. So what we need to know: what is React? Data types, right? Strings, numbers, Boolean. So we'll go a little bit over this. I know there was a question earlier. Are we going to jump in like JavaScript from the get-go, like the tiny amounts? It all depends. I'm going to ask you guys kind of how much you guys want to jump into it, if you guys feel comfortable with that, and if there is another, if you guys feel that you need more time with JavaScript, I'll try to throw in an extra lesson for office hours. Okay, let versus const versus variable. Click on this link here, and then data structures. Okay, this is what we're going to cover, as well as some extensions that I would use. Okay, here are some extensions for you guys: rainbow brackets, indent rainbow. Emmet already comes with it. Kite autocomplete, live server, live share, React snippets, link to snippets, cheat sheet, that's for the snippets, and then CodePen. We'll be using CodePen here today, okay? And then let's go ahead and take a look. So I'm going to constant for each pair value within the braces. Oh, so you're jumping back to the, so we're going to take a look at some different destructuring here in a second. So you'll get, Paulie will be able to answer that question. We'll get to take a look at it. All right, so that's what we're covering here today. We're going to start with React, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at data types, this, and data structures. Okay. So starting off with React, right? A lot of you guys have heard React. A lot of you guys are like, yes, React, very popular, right? Big thumbs up. Give me an emoji. Give me a ta-da emoji if you guys know what that is. The exploding cone. If you've already heard of React, give me any other emoji if you've never heard of React. So ta-da if you've heard of React, and any other emoji if you have not heard of React. All right, just kind of getting a feel how we're, okay, so I saw a few, okay, so it's kind of like half and half, okay, so some of us have, some of us have not, that's good. React was made by Facebook, so React, just like the word implies, is reactive, it's very quick, right? This is an awesome JavaScript library, right? If you call it a template, some people might be mad at you, or not template, word slipped my mind. But if you call it something else, they might be a little bit mad at you. So React, it is used to build the front end, right? What the client sees. Okay, if you say that this React is a framework, somebody might yell at you. Makes a single page application, some spas, right? We all love a spa. And so the question might be, well, what is a spa? Well, we're not talking about the spa with like little bubbles and stuff. That would be nice. But the spa we're talking about is a single page application. Single page application. Why are we calling it single page? Maybe because it's a single page, right? So what do we mean by this? Well, if we remember all from Web Fundamentals, when we were creating a page, we were creating the first initial page on an index.js, right? And hopefully we can all remember that, right? We were creating an index.js. Well, what we're doing here is all of our code is going to live in that index.js, right? So all of our components are going to pop up and render and then be unrendered from this index.js, that single page. All of our components will pop up and go away from that one page. So it works on one single page, which is crazy, right? Because sometimes we learn about clicking on links that bring up a different HTML page. And then this link brings up a different HTML page. And so those are multiple pages. But now we're talking about a single page application. So it's like mind blowing. You're telling me that this site, when you're navigating, you're not really navigating to a different page, right? Correct. You're not navigating to a different page. And yeah, I love the chat. Yes, not a framework. Absolutely correct, right? Very good. All right, so we'll be taking a look a little bit more in React as these days go by. This little application that we're building is going to communicate to a backend. So we're creating the front end. We're creating what the client sees, right? We're creating essentially the visual portion. Now this will be able to talk to the backend, right? Be able to connect to it and get information from a database, right? And do all kinds of other complex things. But we're working with React, which is the front end. Okay, we'll talk about the backend later, coming weeks, but we're starting with React. Okay, we'll cover a little bit more in tomorrow's class. So that is React. A little brief introduction. We're gonna cover a lot more tomorrow. Next, we're going to jump into data types, strings, numbers, booleans, and kind of how I like to play with code for you guys to see it, to be a little bit more familiar with it. Then we'll talk about let versus const versus var. Okay. So if you haven't used this guy right here, this is one of my favorite tools to use. Okay. This is a good question. Do we cover Redux? We do not cover Redux. We do cover use reducer. And we see that with context, and that's going to be towards the end because it will be a little bit more complex. But you will see it. You can take a look at the dashboard, and you can go through the use reducer, right? So good question, Jonathan. So taking a look, yes, Python tutor for the win. Absolutely correct. Yeah, I love this thing. We can change it to Python, Java. We're going to be playing with some JavaScript. Right, so right here is where you can play with all these things. And so we said we're going to cover strings, booleans, and I forgot what the other one I said. Strings, booleans, and numbers. So for those of you guys that kind of just got off of Web Fundamentals and are you played with a little bit of JavaScript, right, but not too much. We're going to go over this a little bit more, okay, right now. Now let me know how you guys feel about going over JavaScript. So I'm gonna ask you guys in the chat right now because I need to get a response, right? Do you want me to go into JavaScript like from the basics, or do you want me to go into JavaScript kind of a little bit less basics and a little bit more intermediate? How do you guys feel? Refresher, perfect. I think a refresher would be best, honestly, but it's up to you guys. Refresher, okay, good. So I'll do a refresher. I won't jump into it like crazy, but we will do a refresher. Okay. Hit everything but not dead. Okay, cool. Okay, well, I'll try my best to do exactly that. Let me know if you guys need to jump a little bit deeper, a little bit back more, or whatnot. Okay. So hopefully we can all remember that we set up variables, right? So a variable, we can say a variable, or we can say const. We're going to say variable. I'm going to call this variable something that we might see. I don't know. We'll just say variable num is equal to, and we're going to say 10 Okay, so this data type obviously is a number. We're going to say variable. My string using camel case is going to be my awesome string. Okay, we're going to say var. My bool, this is just my bool, is equal to true. Okay, these are different ones that we're talking about, right? And so hopefully you can remember we have variables. When we say variable, we're assigning essentially a variable to a placeholder, I like to call it, right? This name, num, my string, my bool is just a placeholder. This placeholder is going to represent what you set it equal to. So for instance, num is going to represent the number 10. My string is going to represent this entire string, right? My bool is going to represent true, right? The Boolean true, right? Now, we also have one more, const, right? And we have another one, obviously, but const, and this one we can say const, we'll say fruit, that's fine, fruit. And we'll say mango. Okay. So we have variables, we have const, right, which is how we can set up fruit to be a placeholder to be equal to mango. But the difference is between this variable and the const is what? What do you guys think? One says const, constant, one says var, variable. What do you guys think is the difference? What can't you do or can you do? Nice, very good answers in the chat. It says const is immutable, right? Const can't be reassigned. Very good. If you try to reassign it, you're going to get an error, right? So for sure. I know, that's what I'm saying. Really quick fingers. You guys are like phenomenal at typing. It's very cool. So yes, this is absolutely correct. If you try to set a constant, it's just not going to work. It's going to give you an error. Okay. We also have this other one, right, which is let, right? It's like the best of both worlds. We'll call it fruit. Fruit number 2 is equal to banana. Okay. All right. This is another one that we kind of talked about. And I think when we get in here, a lot of us are like, oh, I've seen let, let's use let. Yeah, definitely use let, that's fine. But we have to understand how this works too as well when we're coding it so we don't run into errors, okay? But essentially, this is how you set this placeholder, right? Or you set up a variable, right, with a placeholder. Like I like to call it a placeholder, right? Because essentially that's what it's doing. Num is a placeholder for 10. My string is a placeholder for this. My bool is a placeholder for this. Yeah, so essentially those are those. Now, the next one is let versus const versus var, right? Because we start talking about them, we're like, okay, well, how can we use them, right? How is it possible? Let me pause real quick to take a look at the chat, see if or finally overwrites itself. Okay, cool. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at these now. So we typed them in here, we were able to play with them, but I actually set up a code pin for us. And so this code pin is one of the links that I sent out in the slides. And so hopefully we were able to click on those. If you click on the example right here, let versus const versus var, you'll be able to see what we're looking at here. Okay. Oh, not that one, this one. So we have these right here, right? And so we're going to see let, okay? And I want you to notice how let works, right? Because let is going to be block scoped, right? Const is block scoped, var is not. Okay, I want you guys to notice what's going to happen. So I want you to notice that let is out here, but it's also in here, okay? This is let z equal to 50. The placeholder z is equal to 50. If I try to console log out here, console log z, we're gonna let it do its thing, it has to load. Uncaught reference, z is not defined. And the question might say, B, hey, z is defined, but we're using let. Let is block scoped. It exists in its block. This is a block. It will not exist outside of that. So if you're using let, I want you to understand that. Now, if I try to console log this let, it will work. Okay, it will show it. The next one is the error that I talked about, const. I said, hey, I want to go ahead and let's say I want to try to rewrite const. And we said it's immutable. Well, let's take a look at what that means. You'll see what happens. Well, I guess it's right here. Assignment to constant variable, uncaught type error. Can't do it. It's a const. Okay, so that's how the const works. we tried to override it here. It's not going to work. It's not going to let you. Okay. If I console log let in here, right, you're going to see that it does pop up because this console log exists within the block of code where that let exists. Okay. That's what I mean by it is block scope. Okay. It will exist in here, but it will not exist out here. This one will exist out here because it's essentially outside of this block. It's essentially in the same level out here. Okay. That's the only difference. People always bring up let, and it can be confusing until you see this little explanation. So this is here for you guys to be able to play with it so you feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay. This is essentially how we're assigning variables and we're giving them an assignment, right? That's all we're doing here. Okay. So that being said, let's see. Seriously, yes, it can exist if I'm putting it out here. Yeah, globally, yes, out here. So if I do a console log of y out here, yeah, this one will work. So we'll let it do its thing. You'll see it right there. Okay. Why? Because it's block scoped. It's outside here. It's not. This is essentially its block, right? It's not. It's not inside of a block like this. All right. Very cool. So you guys can play with that. Feel a little bit more comfortable with that. Let's go ahead and go back here. So that is actually not there. So we saw the different data types. Okay, so this is how we assign a variable to a number, a variable to a string, a variable to a Boolean. All right, so by show of hands, is that enough to just show you how to assign a variable? You guys comfortable with this? Give me a thumbs up if you guys are good, right? Give me a thumbs up if you guys are good, or give me any emoji if you guys, that's just super confusing. I need some more. Okay, cool, so thumbs up. Cool, very cool. All right, so we're good to go with that. Now the next question is, how comfortable, now in the chat, so it's a little bit easier for me to gauge it, how comfortable are you with conditional statements? Conditional statements. So if num greater than 0, do something else, do this. How comfortable are you guys from a scale of 0 to 1, 1 being I am super comfortable, or 0, I'm not comfortable with this. I need to refresh. All right. Okay, I have like maybe 1 or 2 refresh. All right, so I'll do a quick because it's a lot of, that we're good. We have a few refresh. I'm gonna do a refresh, okay? A quick refresh. It won't be like super jumping in. So this conditional statement is gonna check if something is happening. Now this right here, the syntax, you can always look up the syntax. You could always say W3 schools, JavaScript, conditional statement. It'll show you the syntax. All it's doing, it's taking a variable, excuse me, num, which is equal to 10 right here. It's saying, hey, if this number, which obviously is 10, right, is greater than 0, I want you to do something in here. In this little block of code, I want you to do whatever it is that you need to do. You can console log stuff here, right? You can run something else. You can add to it. Whatever it is that you need to do, you'll do in here, okay? If this condition is true, which of course it is true, okay? Else, do something else, okay? That's this little conditional statement. That's all it is. Nothing too crazy, okay? Essentially, that's it when it comes to conditional statements. If you need more, please let me know in the chat before I move on to a for loop. On my way, don't feel bad if you need some more. Please let me know in the chat. If you want more, a little bit more, and you want me to code a little bit more on it, please type the word more. If you're good to go, give me any emoji now in the chat. Any emoji. Loops scare me. Yeah, they can be scary. Okay, more. Okay, we have some radical. All right, cool. So more is good. Okay, cool. So we'll do a little bit more. All right, perfect. So this right here, this conditional statement is going to do some bit of work. So if I visualize this execution, and so I'm using this tool, if you guys haven't played with it already, once you visualize the execution, it's unexpected token illegal. What did I do here? Oh, obviously. Let's go ahead and fix this. Sorry. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, close. And we click on last. You can click step by step, so it goes through every step, right? But you can just hit last, and it'll do the entire bit of code that you typed in. This is going to say number is greater than 9 because the number is 10, and it is sufficing this conditional statement. So it will run this, but notice you don't see a console log of number is less than 9. It will not run this because this is the else. This is only if this is not the case, right? And so that's a typical conditional statement. You can also add to this, like using other things like and, right? So you can say and some other thing and some other thing. You can also use or, right? Or to check two different conditions, either this one or that one. These are just, your conditional statements. Essentially what you're trying to do in this case is you're going to get some bit of information. You're going to do something with that information if something is true or something is false. Essentially, it's checking if this is true or false. If it's true, it'll run this. If it is false, it'll run this. Okay. We're going to see this a lot more. We're going to start using ternary operators, but that'll be a little bit later. But essentially, that's all this is right here. Okay, ternary operator is the same thing as just an if else. Okay, so if num is greater than 9, console log number is greater than 9, else console log number is less than 9. Okay, you can do something else, right? Well, you can do an else here, and you can actually add conditions in here, and then else. You do all kinds of other stuff, right? So those are our conditional statements. The next one is loops. Okay. What's this example with? Yeah, it does jump ahead, Christopher. I'm not going to cover it right now. I don't want to confuse anybody, but we will get to see it inside of React, where it really counts for our ternary operators. All right, so the next one is going to be our loops. For var I is equal to 0, while I is less than 10, I would like to increment by 1. That's all this is telling us. This is a loop. Loops can definitely be scary, right? This is a for loop, right? While this condition is true, do this. Okay? So this can say console log. We're going to console log real quick. We're going to be console logging just I. We'll run this. Go to last, and we'll be able to see number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Because we went through the loop, and the loop said while I is less than 10, when it gets to 10, well, 10 is equal to 10, so I'm not going to console log 10. Okay, this is a for loop, right? So these are kind of simple examples, right? That we're kind of going through. Of course, they're going to get a little bit more intricate as we start coding in React, but I want you guys to see the React way. If I code it on here, it might be a little bit different than what you're going to see in React. So I want you to see this when we get to React. So it's going to be a little bit different than what we're doing here. Right? And I wouldn't be able to show you here because obviously this does not have Babel, so it won't be able to read JSX and be able to actually spit out an HTML page right now. Yeah, instead of system.out.print line in Java, yeah, perfect. Yes, sometimes that could be very hectic. So yeah, pretty funny. But yeah, and Python is print, so that one's pretty nice too. But yeah, that's just a simple little introduction into JavaScript. We're going to be playing with it quite a lot, so it's something that you'll get more comfortable with time. So right now we covered just like a little crash course into it again. But I promise you guys, we're going to be playing with this so often that you're going to get a little bit more familiar with JavaScript. Okay. But I do want to cover something before you guys go, right? And we get to our breakout rooms is going to be destructuring. So I'm going to spend some time with destructuring, and then we'll jump in and we'll try to destructure. Okay. So destructuring. We're going to get certain objects sometimes, or we're going to get certain information that we need to destructure. Destructuring is just a way to be able to take out those key value pairs or whatever it may be into a way that's a little bit nicer, so that when you're writing it in your code, it's less verbose, so you don't have to put the entire object, like sensei dot my name dot something something, right? So that's essentially what we're going to learn is destructuring. It might seem kind of weird in the beginning. I understand this, but I promise you, after playing with it, you'll be like, oh, destructuring, super easy. I got this. Okay. All right. So we have two objects here. We have a sensei and we have a ninja. Okay. The sensei has a my name, which is Splinter, my age 100. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Splinter's 100 or 110. My weapon, knowledge, my occupation, sensei, my likes, meditation, kung fu, and teaching. Right. Then we have a ninja. We have name Raphael, age is 19, weapon is a Sai, twin Sai, occupation is Ninja Turtle, family is going to be name Leonardo, age 17, name Michelangelo, age 18, name Donatello, essentially objects, right, inside of an array. Then you have likes, which is an array of pizza, kung fu, fighting, crime, right? Then we have some enemies here. This is an array. The enemies that we have, Shredder, Baxter, Tonka, and Razar, right? So we have, this is an array, okay? It's an array, this is an object. Let's take a look at how we would destructure it. When you're talking about destructuring an array, the way we destructure it is, this is the syntax for it. So at first, the thing that really confused me in the beginning was, why is it typed out this way? And I was trying to just figure out if there's a specific way. And that's what got me really stuck on destructuring, right? Now, I want you to just accept this, right? It's one of the things that we just kind of have to accept. And after, you'll start getting used to it, right? Is you're not setting a constant like you would normally, because that's not what we're doing here. We're destructuring, okay? So if you want to see something like this and you're trying to get that to fit in here somehow, it's going to cause some problems, because you're trying to piece it together why it's working like this, and that sometimes causes problems. So what I would tell you right here, my biggest advice is, don't worry too much about kind of what's happening in the background here, but worry just about the syntax. You have to put const. You have to put, if it's an object or an array, in this case, it's an array. So I put brackets because it's an array. It's not an object. And then I put is equal to enemies. Notice enemies is equal to an array. So we're destructuring it. We're just like switching it. Okay. Enemies is now here, or here, obviously. And now the names, we're giving them a name. We're saying Shredder, you're going to be equal to first. Baxter, you're going to be equal to second. And I'm going to go ahead and just take every other enemy and I'm going to put it into here, the dot rest, using the rest operator, right? Take the rest of you guys, I'm going to put you here, right? That's what you're doing here. This is how you're destructuring this, okay? Now, I want you to notice, if I console log first, and let me take off the other console logs. Let's make sure these are not console logged, so we can see just the important information. Let's make sure that it's the only thing being console logged. Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so I console logged first, so you can see Shredder, okay? First is not a magic word, okay? I could change this. I could say mango. And I could change this and say mango. And it'll say Shredder, right? Because this is how you destructure. You assign a variable, you assign it, right? So if I want to take out the first part of the array, Shredder, I can assign whatever name I think would be appropriate. Obviously, mango wouldn't work, because if another developer is looking at your code and they read mango, they're going to be like, I have no idea what mango is, right? But maybe first, they'll be like, oh, it might be first of an array or something, right? It'd be easier to understand. Okay? All right, so now, second is there, but you can do this. And it'll still say that the rest will not include this guy. How do I know this? Well, we can console log rest and see what happens. Tonka, Razar. Tonka, Razar. Well, why didn't it take Baxter? Well, because we put a comma, and there's no space there, but we put another comma. This is telling the code, hey, I just don't want to assign something to Baxter, and I'm just lazy. All right, I might need first. I don't need this guy, so I'm not going to waste my time. But I do need the rest of them. Right? That's what I'm doing. This is the destructuring an array. It can be confusing at first. Trust me, if you're looking at this, you're like, play with it, play with it, play with it, play with it. Please code with it, code along, open this up, and play with it. So I'm gonna send this off to you guys. Oh, wrong one. Where was that? Okay, yeah, for sure. We can change it. So we can just do first and the rest. Yeah, if you guys want to see that, for sure, let's do that. So let's go ahead and console log it. And boom, Baxter, Taka, Raza. Okay. This is available to you guys, by the way. It's on the slides. So you now have it. So you can destroy this code. You can play with it. You can do whatever it is that you want in there. Right? It will not mess it up for me. Okay, it will not. So this is for you guys to be able to play with and be able to play around with it. You can actually save it. If you make an account here, you can save it. And you can share code with somebody else. Okay. So yeah, that's how it works. Okay. Yeah, if I just do rest, if I was to do just rest by itself, it would take all of them: Shredder, Baxter, Taka, and Raza. If I take off first and the comma. So, okay. Thank you, Eric. Yes, that is the link I am on, guys, right now. You can click on it. You can open up the code. You can play with it. Okay. Now, that is an array. Now let's take a look at an object. So let's go ahead and comment this out. We will fix this. All right, the next one that we can see here is that I am destructuring. I don't think you will really destructure right now as we're going through the course this crazy, this intricate as we made this object. This is just to show you that it is possible. We honestly, the entire time that you're in the stack, I don't think you'll ever destructure as much as we destructure in this little object. This is just to show you that it's possible. So const, like I said, we're starting with const. Now it's curly braces because we're destructuring an object. If we were destructuring an array, it's brackets. We're destructuring an object, it's curly braces, those curly boys, okay? So now I'm taking out the key of name, age, weapon, occupation, and family, right? So why am I doing that? Because it has a name, age, weapon, occupation, and family, okay? It also has likes, but notice how I did the family one, okay? I did the family one, I said family, colon, it's an array, so I put array, but then I'm taking out the objects, okay? Because this was an object. I'm destructuring those as well. A name. Well, how am I going to take out this specific value? Well, I'm going to assign it a value. I'm going to say that value will now be represented by value 1. Age, how am I going to take age? I'm going to now represent it by value 3. Right, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going in here and I'm destructuring it a little bit deeper. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go to family, which is here. It's an array, so I'm going to destructure the array. Okay, it has an object inside of it, so I have to take the key and I'm going to destructure the value 1. This is super intricate, so like don't even worry about this little one or this one. But this is just to show you that you can destructure out deeper. That's one of the questions I get. Can you destructure, like, can you nested objects inside of it? Yeah, absolutely. But just understand that, you know, it takes a little bit of finagling and playing around with, right, to get it to work. But more than likely, this is going to be the extent of how you are destructuring. This is like what you're going to see in React. You're not going to really see this like this. Okay, not really. Okay. I don't think we see it once. We see them like this, but we don't see it like this. Later, when you're playing with more code and you're working for a corporation, you might have to destructure a little bit deeper, but that'll be that. Okay. The colon is just telling us that it's part of it. So family colon array. And then here we're saying name, whatever value name the key name has, I'm going to assign it value 1. This is the placeholder to stand in for Leonardo. play around with this, okay? This can be confusing a little bit. And right now you're actually going to get to play with it with your group, okay? So that is essentially, this is the teaching style that you're gonna see when in my class, right? So we cover the information, you get a little bit of information there, we cover it, we code it, and then you actually get to play with the code. That is the most important part, is you getting to play with the code, is you messing it up, figuring it out with the team, because there's passive and active learning. Active learning is actively engaged and working through it, and passive is just watching it. A lot of times we watch a video and we're like, yeah, trust me, I get that, right? I'll watch a lot of people in the jungle making pools and I'm like, I could do that, right? But then when you get down trying to make it, it's not going to happen. It's the same thing here. When you see the video, it seems like, yeah, I got this. This is easy. When you get to code it is when you run into those errors. And that's what we're trying to do here. Run into the errors in a supervised environment where we can help in your classmates, okay? All right, so now that we know what's up, give me in the chat big thumbs up if you guys are ready to go to those breakout rooms. And if you're not, you can pause me right now, ask me whatever questions before we get started with those breakout rooms. I see a few thumbs up. I've already seen 2, 3, 4. Okay, in the chat. Okay, so it looks like we're ready. No questions. If you have a question, feel free to ask me. I'm going to be jumping in these breakout rooms, so you can ask me there, okay? All right, guys, let's get started with those breakout rooms. This is the most exciting part of it all. We get to talk to each other and we get to go through this. All right. All right, let's get started.